Welcome, everybody. I've got Jared with me, and we're here to talk about the Star Wars Unlimited market. WTF is going on. We're debating whether to use WTF if it's to PG-13, but this is a brand new game, brand new market. People are trying to navigate this. The game came out about 2 to 3 weeks ago, so we thought we'd put together a brief guide on the top 5 rares and legendaries, and then kind of one to sleep on. What are the most expensive cards? Why they're expensive? And then we're also going to talk showcases. We're going to talk hyperspace foils, how to navigate all this stuff. It feels like right now there's a shortage of sealed product. So a lot of people are also paying over MSRP, which is unfortunate for boxes. So this is your one-stop shop to try to navigate this. A lot of the prices I reference are pulling from eBay or TCG Player. Jared is joining me because he actually runs a local community. He's been big on this game. He was telling me about it like 6 months ago to get into it. And so he's been here since, what is that, day negative 180, right? So not day one, here since the beginning. So.
I created the group 10 months ago on Facebook. 10 months.
I feel like we got some decent experts, at least with Jared here. But let's get started here. So we're going to kind of start off with the top 5 legendaries. This is by price. And I think there's no real surprises except maybe Avenger on here, but we're going to go by these one by one. What's it kind of sitting at right now? We're filming this near the end of March. This could go down, this could go up, but Vader's top here. He looks like he's about 75. This is also all normal bordered, not hyperspace. So Vader's sitting around 70 to 80 bucks, 75 bucks. Why is that? Why is Vader such a good card, Jared?
Well, so the command aspect has turned out to be one of the stronger aspects in the game. So a lot of people are building around that on the dark side and the villainy side. There's an Iden Versio deck that's creeping around right now, which is kind of a mid-range control deck, which can kind of handle the meta right now. Vader is in that deck. So he is a 7-drop, but green has what's called ramp if you play Magic. Resource, you've got cards you can put into play as a resource. There's several there that you can play with, so you can get ahead of the curve.
Technician, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so once you drop Vader, he has ambush, and he's a 5 attack power unit, so he can come out and outright just take something out. On top of that, you can search the top 10 cards of your deck, and you search them for any villain units, and you can put those onto the battlefield into play as long as the total combined cost is 3 or less between those. So it could be 3 1-drops, it could be a 2 and a 1. It could be a strong 3-drop unit that has an ability that maybe you need at that moment. So it's really strong in that respect. And he has staying power because he has 7 health. So he does a lot of work.
So if you're running a whole bunch of units, you could drop like 8-9 units with that.
Well, it's total costs, right? So you can only really put maybe one to maybe 3 units into play, unless there's a 0 drop.
I was confusing it with another ability. I was thinking a different card.
Yeah.
But that's why Vader's where he's at. I'll also just add that there's a lot of collectors coming out of the woodwork, so they want the mains. And so people just want one of these for their collection. So there's the normal players who say this card's really playable and I want to play this in my local game store, but also it's Darth Vader. And I think, I've ranked this art before, but it's like a 7 to 8 out of 10 art. Like it's on the better end of the spectrum of the art here. So that's why.
Definitely. I enjoy the art on this one, actually. I've got the play mat. It looks really great, blown up, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's the top legendary. That's probably the most expensive card that's not hyperspace or showcase, anything like that. And we'll get a little more into the terminology in later slides. But next on our list is Boba Fett. This is the Disintegrator. This is also a legendary. And this is about 50 bucks, give or take, maybe 55, maybe 45, you get a deal. Why is Mr. Fett, if he's ever been called that before, why is he a $50 card? Mr. Fett.
So the good thing about him, he's cheap. It costs 3 to bring him in. So he is a 3 attack power, 5 health unit. So his ability reads, on attack, if this unit is attacking an exhausted unit that did not or didn't enter play this round, deal 3 damage to the defender. So the way that works is that most leaders' average health is around 6. Okay. Leaders start in play. So his ability works towards leaders immediately. So he can actually take out a leader in one hit, which is kind of thematic. That's what makes him strong. He can come onto the battlefield. Anything that hasn't entered that turn, he can attack them if they're exhausted.
Oh, interesting. So
Outright
I
take them
guess
out.
you could already start pinging the lead. I didn't actually. I've only played like newbie games where no one's ever been targeting my poor leader. Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
so he in that vein, of course he's Boba Fett, right? So the disintegrator version, as opposed to the leader version, he's out to just no disintegrations, right? Remember Vader said, "Don't disintegrate him." He disintegrates. This is that version of Boba Fett. So
Okay, and also like I guess with that known mechanism, you kind of have to be careful about using your, you're playing a Boba Fett, you have to be careful about using your leader's ability, this turn or when you use it.
right,
Um,
exactly.
okay, so that's why Boba is in slot number 2 at about $50. We have Luke Skywalker up next. This art's not as good as Vader. It's a 6 out of 10, but it's still Luke Skywalker. Tell me why Luke is the third most valuable legendary right now.
Okay, so he fits into that vigilance and heroism aspect, which he kind of fits Vader's slot on that side of the spectrum. He does have Restore 3, so on attack, he can heal 3 damage from a base. And if you guys have played the card Repair, it's a repair on a stick, right? So every time he attacks, he can repair 3 damage from the base. When played, he can also debuff a unit by -3/-3 for the fades. And then if a friendly unit was defeated, you can give that unit -6/-6 instead. So he can outright just kill something because of that if one of your friendly units has gone down that phase.
Yeah, and so
So
like the way -6/-6, if the unit only has 5 health, that just kills them, right? That's how that
yeah,
works.
gone.
Just
Yeah,
like magic.
exactly.
So that seems pretty good. It's interesting that Luke is about $30, right? Give or take $5. So
Mhm.
but he doesn't seem nearly as good as the other two as you kind of walk through. So that's where we're at with Luke. Let's go into the Falcon here. This one I actually don't know quite why. It's about a $20 card. This is all plus or minus 10% here, but why is the Falcon so good here?
So he comes into play ready. So that's 100% the best thing. I think I lost you. Oh, you went
I
away for a
realize
second.
we're here. We're here. I just took a toss through the card.
It's okay. It's okay. So the good thing about the Millennium Falcon is it comes into play ready. So you can pay 3. It comes in ready. On your next action, you can attack with it. So there's definitely an advantage there, and he can
So
work
how is
with.
that different from ambush? Why wouldn't they just give the card ambush?
So ambush, when it comes into play, if it does the ambush, if it has the ambush ability keyword, it can only attack a unit. He comes into play. The Falcon comes into play ready, so you can do whatever you want to with it.
Oh,
You can
okay.
hit a base right on your next action. You could hit a unit, and then I've seen some guys uh, don't pay the 1. It goes back to your hand. You play it again, so it doesn't just go away, right? So the way it reads is when you ready cards in the regroup phase, either pay 1 or return this unit to its owner's hand. So you have that ability. You can pay an extra uh, resource and have it stay out, or you can send it to your hand and play it out later, ready to go if you need it again.
Got it. So sort of this recursion effect a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Our final card here is Avenger. So Avenger is expensive, really expensive at 9. But this seems to
It
be
is.
a $20 card. So I'm kind of curious, why is this the 5th most valuable rounding
Uh,
our list here?
so in the vigilance and command control decks that are floating around, namely Iden Versio is the big one. Then I've seen some Krennic decks that utilize it as well. Um, with the command ramp, it's very easy to get to that 7, 8, and 9 resource point, and it's a game ender, right? It's towards the end of the game. Best of 3. Say you're on your last game, it's down to damage, right? You're just going back and forth. If you're that player that has that command ramp, you can drop this. Your opponent has to choose and defeat one of their units, and guess what? When he attacks, they do it again every time he attacks.
Got it.
Plus, he's an 8/8.
You
Yeah,
still have to wait a turn though. It's going to come in, not ready, so you have to wait a turn. So,
right.
yeah, 9 seems like a hefty cost, but I guess if there's ramp there, you might
Mm-hmm.
get a get there.
If you're not running command, it's going to be harder to get that card out. Just going to say that.
Okay. So this is our top 5 for legendaries. I have one not to sleep on, and that's Super Laser Blast. because removal is always just really good. That is a rule of all CCGs: is removal is good. If you can take out your opponent's stuff and stymie their strategy, you're just putting yourself in a good position. So that's my sort of sixth place. Would you agree with that? As sort of the sixth place is
Oh
the
yeah, I agree with that totally. It's in the deck, the Versio deck as a two of, so I have used it in the deck pretty frequently. So I'm 100% on board with that.
and I think that's around like a
Yeah,
$12 to $15 cards, but I could see that one kind of creeping up a little bit just because people are going to realize how good removal is.
it's
All
Wrath
right,
of
so
God, right?
that's our legendary top five. Let's go on to our rares. This is a little more interesting of a list because these are just rares, but all of these are at least a couple bucks. Let's start out with Cassian's friend, this this lovely droid, who's actually one of the better parts of Andor. I liked not
Yeah,
Andor, but Rogue One.
yeah.
So
So Alan Tudyk made us care about him, right? So
right, yeah. So he is about I think he's like a $10 card, $12 card. So a
right.
little something there.
So the good thing about him, so he comes into play. He does have overwhelm. Now, when defeated, you can choose one. You can either discard, deal 3 damage to that player's base, or have them discard a card from their hand. Most of the time, you're going to be using the deal 3 damage aspect. So he comes in, he hits hard. When he dies, he's like, okay, guess what? You're going to take 3 damage to the face as well. So that's what makes him really good. A good combo with him in some of the aggro decks that I've been seeing, which is Sabine Wren, and then also the Leia aggro deck that I've been seeing. He comes in with the Energy Conversion Lab base epic action, gives him ambush. He'll go in, kill something, die, and deal 3 damage to the base, and then win the game potentially. So it's there's a lot of really cool tricks you can do with him because of that ability.
Great. And I think there's also that heroic last stand card or whatever, like that suicide card that
Mm-hmm.
I forget what exactly it's called, but I'm building a deck with that in it and this
Heroic sacrifice.
heroic sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right, let's move on to red three though. So red three, I think this is about $8 card, roughly the same as Cassian's friend. But why is this so good?
So he buffs your other units. So if you're running that, that alliance aligned like Sabine Wren or Leia aggro deck, all of your guys are going to be heroism for the most part. 99% of the deck is heroism, right? So he gives them a buff. So not only does he have raid one, he gives raid one to all of those heroism units as well, which, multiply it by how many units you have on the battlefield. That's how much extra damage that you can put out. So
This isn't
he's a
just
good
other
unit.
aerial units, it's to all units. So if you're
All.
doing little and wide, then this is going to be really powerful.
Yeah, that's one of the main, one of the key pieces of that deck that makes it work so well.
Got it. All right. What about for a cause to believe in? So I've read this card a couple times. You're basically possibly doing 4 damage for 3, which seems to be pretty good, but it's like a $5 card, sort of the third
Yeah.
card on our list here. Is there anything else here? It's just you're doing 4 damage for 3 cost.
The 4 for 3, man. Again, and I've said this like the last 2 times. The big decks right now are the aggro decks that run Sabine or Leia, and they're heroism and they're rebels centric. So if all of your cards are heroism, you're 3 to 4 damage every time you play this card, and it can finish games out that way because you can't react to it. You can't do anything about it.
And I guess it also gives you a little bit of a tutor ability here. You can look at the 10 cards and be like, hey, these next 7 I want to get rid of. I want these 3. And you can put them back in your deck in any order, so you kind of know what you're going to draw next.
Right. I think you're looking at Ewing reinforcement. The 10 cards, that's Ewing reinforcement.
Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry. It's four cards. Yeah, 4 cards.
Yeah, 4 cards. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to help you out, man.
No, I'm still
You can edit
navigating
it
stuff
out.
myself.
Yeah.
It was a good exercise. Yeah, this is just 4 cards, so that's
Right.
hopping ahead a little bit. What about
No, you're
Fet's
good.
fire spray here?
So Fet's fire spray is pretty cool. One of the units that can come in ready if you have your Boba leader or unit in play. So when played, if you control Boba or Jango Fett, so big clue there, Jango Fett's coming in the future eventually. you can ready this unit. So something really brutal that I've seen with this is again with the energy conversion lab base, you bring it in with ambush. Now you have priority. You choose which thing happens first, right? You can choose the ambush to happen first. You kill a unit, and then it looks for Boba or Django, and you get to ready it, and you can use it again. So it's perfect. So it's a great card.
Also, like the renaming of the ship formerly known as Slave.
Ah,
It is what it is.
yeah. So we still, I mean, locally we're all Star Wars nerds, obviously, or we wouldn't be playing this game for the most part. So we still call it Slave One, but it's whatever.
All right, rounding out our list, we got U-wing reinforcements, which is a costly card at 7. So talk me through this one. This is about a $4.
Okay, so
The ship and the U-wing reinforcement are about $4 cards, by the way. So
yeah.
I'm breaking the
So the
bank.
cool thing, so there's a couple of things with this. It's good in the aggro decks, right? So I'm just going to read it just so you can see it. So there's the top 10 cards of your deck for up to 3 units with combined cost 7 or less. Play each of them for free. So it helps you action economy, right? You're getting 3 units you would not have had, potentially up to 3 units that you would not have had otherwise, and you get to put them into play without paying any more cost. And whatever abilities they may incur, you get to choose how those happen as well as they enter. Another deck, there's a Han Lucky Sevens deck where this card ignores aspect penalties. So in that deck, if you run Han with command, you can play Ewing reinforcement, and you can actually put other like I've seen Count Dooku, Luke, all these out of aspect cards. Vader's in that deck, and you can just drop them for free with Ewing reinforcement. So that was wacky. I saw that happen. I'm like, how is this happening? And I looked at it, and we read into it a little bit, looked at the comprehensive rules, and it ignores the aspect penalty, so you don't have to pay that. So you just get to put whoever in for free at that point. So that's a really interesting take on that card as well.
Yeah, that kind of leads to some funky deck making. All right, and then for our final one not to sleep on is Count Dooku. So why should we not sleep on Count Dooku, and why might he break into our top 5 here in the coming months?
So Count Dooku is a 7 drop. Again, he kind of works with that wacky deck we just talked about. Now, when it comes to his ability, when he enters the battlefield, he is shielded, so he shields himself to protect himself from 1 instance of damage. And then when played, you may defeat a unit with 4 or less remaining health points. So anything that comes in that has a 4, or if you've dealt damage to it, he gets rid of it. It's like, you know what, you're gonna go. Count Dooku's here, ready to play, right? So I think it's a great card. It's
Yeah.
great in the blue decks. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would add to this? I mean, rares, there's a lot more than legendaries to kind of pick from. Is there anything else you would add?
There's a card that has been really great. There's actually two. One's green, one's yellow that I'm noticing, or I'm looking at that may take off a bit more. One of them is called Traitorous, and it lets you take one of your opponent's units when you play it as an upgrade to the unit if it costs 3 or less. So some of the interactions I've seen there is it's a green card, right? So we were playing against another a green deck, and then someone played Traitors and stole their super laser tech, which is one of the ramp guys, right? He dies, he goes into play as a resource. Well, because he controls it, whoever it dies with gets the resource. So it stole a resource from the opponent. Um, Fifth Brother is another 3 cost unit. People will steal Fifth Brother from you if you're playing the villainy aggro decks that are out right now, like the Grand Inquisitor. So Traitorous is one. That's definitely I've been doing the singles market locally here because I've opened so much, and that is one of the rares that I really everyone asks for is Traitorous. Another one that I think people are sleeping on, me personally, that people haven't really gotten into yet, is called Sneak Attack. And you can, if you look it up, I don't know if you can bring it up, but I'll just so I don't mess this up, I'm going to read it to you verbatim here. So this gives you some, the ability to ready a unit is incredible, right? So play a unit from your hand. It's a yellow card. It costs 2 resources. It costs 3 less to play, and it enters play ready. but at the start of your regroup phase, defeat it. So you can bring in something big, pay two, it costs three less. So you're really costing one less. So like if you were playing yellow with blue, some of those starter stories that come out for like 8 or 9, you could discount it slightly. It comes in ready, and then you can do the ability and maybe swing out and win or do what you need to do. And then I saw another interaction where someone played this card and then waylaid the unit back to their hand so they could do it again later. So that was
Hmm.
that was a neat trick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. So a couple quick observations here. I see the top three are red here, right? Does it kind of seem like red is kind of dominating the meta a little bit? There's a
Red
little
and
more
green.
red and green.
Yep. Red and green are the top two for me personally, if I'm looking at it from my perspective as a community leader and watching these games be played. And I've played in 10 events so far between constructed and limited events, and green and red always shine no matter what.
One other quick question here. I feel like people might be looking. There's no energy conversion lab, or there's no whatever Tarkin Town. Why do you think there's no? This is just ordered cards, but why are there no? And why probably won't there be any locations on here? I have a big guess, but I like to hear your opinion.
So really, if you're going for a playset, like if you're building decks, you're going for your playset. You only need one base as far as the rare bases are concerned. There's no need for three bases. You build your deck around a base and a leader. So you really just need the one. The only real need for extra copies would be if you don't want to swap that base around your different decks. But because of that, I don't think you're going to see as much of that there. But even though Energy Conversion Lab is one of the more expensive ones, um, the big one for it would be like the Hyperspace Foil. It's like $55 or something like that.
Yeah, that's just people
So it's
chasing for
Oh
collections.
yeah, that's a collector aspect, not so much a player aspect. So I
Yeah.
believe that's why. It's really you just need one copy for any reason. So
Okay. Let's close out here with the showcase foils here. These are the top three. We got Fett, we got Leia, and then we got Emperor. Roughly 500 to 600 for Boba Fett, 400 ish for
hmm
Leia, and Emperor's 350 to 400. Why are these three the top three here? Is it are they playable or is
well,
it just iconic?
and it's a mixture of both. Boba is very playable. He has a good mid range deck that can contend with a lot of the decks. And plus, it's Boba Fett, man. It's just cool. The artwork on this one is particularly cool. Um, Now, as far as Leia does fit into that. She sees a little more play because of the aggro decks. The Leia and the Sabine deck, which Sabine is climbing up. The price of her is climbing up a bit too, just because she's seeing play. But Boba definitely, I think it's more iconic than it is actual play, in my opinion. Now, the Emperor, I have seen some people playing the Emperor, but the artwork is probably, in my opinion, one of the best ones out of all the showcases. That has a lot to do with it too. As far as collectors, we like art, so that would
Yeah.
be one of the top ones for me as well. Which I have the Emperor, but I don't have Boba or Leia, unfortunately.
I think there's been a
Yeah,
real demand from collectors. They've been looking for a new thing to chase, right? And I think
yeah.
this game has given them that. All right, so let's kind of wrap it up here a little bit. Here's just some general trends. I see hyperspace foils become the ultimate chase item, right? This seems to be the thing that everybody, you can have the rare, you can have the borderless rare, but what about the hyperspace foil rare? That seems to be, besides the showcases, it's really the hyperspace foils that are the ultimate chase item. So that's sort of my first observation. I've opened booster boxes, so I feel like I've gotten
Yeah.
a sense of stuff. The next thing I've observed is hyperspace, which are borderless cards. They seem to be about a 2x premium, but that can be totally off the wall. Depends on commons and uncommons. You're looking at like 5x premium or 10x, but roughly it's like double for rares.
Yeah, it's something like that. Especially the legendary cards like Vader. The hyperspace full of Vader is climbing towards $200. So that's definitely one of the bigger ones that I've seen in the market. I have seen one. Someone pulled one at a sealed event, but I don't personally have a hyperspace Vader, but I do have Luke. So that's the big one that I have.
Yeah, the next one's kind of an interesting one to me, which are foils seem to have about a 20% premium of rares or legendaries, minus a few maybe, but like a Luke is $30. Luke foil might be 35 or something, or 37.
Yeah.
But
Um,
it doesn't seem like people really love just foiled cards, right? They're after hyperspace foils.
the hyperspace has taken that chase, right? Which the foil cards are great. The foils look great. You've opened the product, you've seen them. Just the regular normal foils are some of the best ones I've seen in a while. Not quite decipher level, awesome, but they're pretty good, right? So um, I've seen that as well. I'm actually there's been a few times I want to complete a normal playset and foil playset of the regular versions of the cards, which I'm about 20 cards from doing that. And a lot of the cards that I had extra foil versions of, we just traded evenly because I have some friends that are more friends in the community that are more about playing the game rather than collecting the shiny stuff, right? So they'll trade me outright for it.
Yeah,
Maybe throw a couple of bucks in, whatever. But we usually do it to round off trades, so it works out.
yeah. The next point I have is on sealed. So right now we're looking at kind of the end of March, and there's a bit of hiatus on extra sealed. I think there was a note they sent out to the contributor that they're going to have a second print run. It's going to be kind of April-ish, but sealed is climbing in price, and it's all over the place pricing wise. I just tell people to buy with caution right now because you could end up paying
Mm.
20% over MSRP. I think I saw this is a box for like 140, 150. I just think I was fortunate pre-ordering stuff around $90 a box. That was everywhere, by the way. That was like a pretty good deal, but it wasn't like no one
Mm-hmm.
had things priced that way. It was pretty easy to
Yeah.
find. So I think now
So
50% more now.
yeah, so the thing with the market is, and this is a funny story because I just recently reordered some product because I've been doing the whole singles thing and all that. Um, so the weekend before the email started going out and someone exposed it on, I think, Discord or something, um, I ordered 2 cases, right? No problem. Place I normally order from. Um, they had 148, 150 boxes in stock, which is quite a few cases, right? You do the math. And the same went for some of the other retailers were in the same boat. They also had it. Um, now, when that announcement was made, I watched the stock of that store go from about 140 boxes to zero in a matter of hours because of, I call it FOMO. People are freaking out. Oh God, we can't get it. So everyone just did mass buyouts online. Not necessarily investors, but just people that probably stores that want product for sealed events and people, individuals that haven't bought in yet and were waiting. Maybe they took that plunge because of that FOMO. But I got lucky. I ordered that right before that happened. As far as the restock, I have a source that I know that works for sales and asthma day. And, they'll trickle some information out here and there, what they can say, what they can't say. But from what he was saying, don't freak out. More product is coming. Don't overspend. If it's more than the MSRP, don't do it. It's going to come back. Prices are going to stabilize back down to about where they were when the whole thing started. So I've heard April. It's probably going to be maybe mid-April or early April. I know my store gets a restock next week. That was part of a last shipment that went out. So it's going to come back out, guys. So don't freak out.
Absolutely. And then the final thing to close this all out is don't forget that set two, it comes out in July
Yeah.
2024. So, save some of your pennies, guys, because there's a whole nother set coming out in 3 months, right? So be a little strategic here and keep in mind that, I mean, if you love this game, then think about pre-ordering the next set if that's the route you want to go to avoid this all over again. But this is obviously been a smashing success. People are really excited. People are playing it. I'm actually going to a local play event on Wednesday, so I'm excited. But there is product out there. There will be more product. Don't overpay. Don't feed the scalpers. It's like the trolls. You don't want to feed them. But let's end it there on a high note of more product coming out, prices coming down, accessibility increasing. Hopefully, this was a really useful guide. Guys, if you like this sort of content, like and subscribe. Check out Jared's stuff. He's building a local community here in Tennessee. And I just kind of want to know if people want more Star Wars Unlimited stuff or not, but happy to do it. Jared, thanks so much for hanging out, man. Any kind of final thoughts here for everybody?
Just enjoy the game, play the game. If you can't get product, 2-player starters are still out. Give it a shot. It's worth it, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.